Welcome back, my fellow agents. Today we have a treat, but it is I, your historian of amazing awesomeness, Agent X7, your host, also your host of Zenorama, the podcast of heroes and monsters. And today, as you might guess, we are going to be talking not about anything, one specific subject, except that we're going to be talking about Channel 20, WDCA, out of Washington, D.C. It was a channel that was aired on cable back in when I would go visit West Virginia, the hills of West Virginia. And it was unlike anything we had here because it showed the best cartoons and the best movies ever. Although we got a lot of great movies, but it showed the best cartoons ever. We didn't get these. Some of these I hadn't seen. Well, be that as it may. Before we get too far into this, please like, share, subscribe. Vote the poll. I'll put up a poll here today. And wherever you're watching or listening to, please listen or watch just a little bit longer than normal. I'd really appreciate it. And leave a comment. It'd be great. My cousins, the lucky stiffs that they were, got to watch these channels. And as we'll go through here, we'll see right away. It was wonderful. When I would go back there, I would get up in the morning because of a certain cartoon that was on. Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. That was on at 6 in the morning, almost always. And I would set the alarm. I have that alarm clock right here. It's a baby bell. Somehow I recovered it, but it served me well. And I'm going to keep it as it's mostly a paperweight now, but sometimes it runs. But Spider-Man, the Gantry Lawrence 1966, 67 cartoon was on, and I wanted to see my hero in action. Unfortunately, every time I seemed to watch, it was a second season one where Ralph Bakshi and his weird stuff was going on with the half-hour episodes. Never got to see the origin or anything. I got to see the weird plant creatures and the guy that lifted Manhattan up into the sky. I wanted to see him fight the Scorpion. Did that happen? Once, when the second Scorpion episode when he turned giant. But it was all right because the next one we had that was on in the morning was generally Kimba, as we'll hear. Kimba, 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 Kimba. Now that was a secondary, it was an alternate title, musical title that aired, I think on once in maybe episode 4 or 5, but couldn't find my original one, so we get that instead. But Kimba the White Lion, we all know, was the story of a young lion whose father was killed, not by his treacherous uncle, but because he was white and they wanted his hide. His mother was also a white, I think, was Snoween? Yeah, she had to be white. But here's Tom and Tab, the jackals, who were mostly comic relief. There's Claw, yes. Not Scar, but Claw, although he's only got one eye. See anything similar here? I've talked about it, and I'm well past it now. I just find it funny. There's Kimba and Kitty, or Leo and Leah, if you want the Japanese versions. It was clear, even with the dubbing that said that we're just friends, that they were more than just friends. Who's down in deepest, darkest Africa? Who's the one? It certainly wasn't this man. So sometimes there were a lot of Popeyes, Heckle and Jekylls, all of those comedy ones they would have as called under the Bugs Bunny and Friends. Wide variety, just scattered about, whatever they had laying about. There was also Romper Room, probably even earlier than Spider-Man, which I did not care for. And maybe they showed cartoons, I don't know. But I was not my demographic. I can't imagine any little toddler was up at 5 in the morning, but maybe they were watching. So there would be Bewitched would follow, some Maybe I Dream of Jeannie, and then it would go into like the PTL, all those other kind of grifters. Their Sunday channel, WDCA's Sunday mornings were full of the grifter shows. And it'd go into a movie or two, probably at noon there'd be a movie, or at 1 there'd be a movie while my grandmother watched her stories on NBC, Days of Our Lives. Let's hear it. There you go, Lilith. But she didn't think it'd get a Days of Our Lives in here. And then the afternoon cartoons would start. And generally it was Speed Racer or Marine Boy, but we'll get to them. I think I saw a lot of the New Adventures of Superman.
Faster than a speeding bullet. More powerful than a locomotive.
And we're cutting them short because I'm trying to avoid copyright strikes or restrictions on this for YouTube. But there's Superman in all his glory. He got to fight, well, they call it pterodactyls, but they're pteranodons. Very similar to Rodan here, except that they got to live, which is nice of Superman to let the dinosaur-ish creatures, other prehistoric animals, pterosaurs, live. This was also the Aquaman block. It was called Superheroes. It was always the DC Superheroes, and I'm sorry you're not getting Aquaman because I didn't think of it. But with his concentric circles while he telepathed, there he is. Dun dun dun. I really liked Aquaman. I still really like Aquaman. One that thinks he's lame is lame. Because how strong you have to be to live underwater with all that water pressure. And his wife was in the show, although they always called him her friend. I think I don't remember what her ride was. Aquaman rode Storm. I think Aqualad rode Imp. And I don't remember what Mara rode, but I always like seeing her. Of course, she's got red hair, go figure. And then occasionally we would get the guest heroes. Now, I think I saw the Teen Titans or perhaps Green Lantern, but I was surprised. I thought if they had this many, I thought they would have an equal amount of episodes of the Justice League and the Teen Titans and all, but they only did 3 of each. But you got, although Aquaman was not in the Justice League, and they were not the most exciting. They were exciting. They went quickly, but they didn't use any of the Justice League heroes or villains. Pardon me. They used the heroes, not the villains. But this predates the Super Friends by a good 6 or 7 years. No one ever seems to remember Filmation did it first. And then we'd go into Channel 20, the Channel 20 Club, which was hosted by Captain 20, Captain Video, Captain 20, who also was Count Gore Duvall. Now, here's a little background on Channel 20 while we're not having anything else. It was founded in April of 1966, making your humble agent just slightly older, and by the Capital Broadcasting Company. And what's his name? Milton Grant sold the station in 1969 to the Superior Tube Company of Pennsylvania, but remained general manager until 1980. So really the best years for Channel 20, although it stayed pretty good into the early 80s. But the best years for watching all of this, I mean, look at this. Mighty Mouse, Kimba, the Roadrunner, Ultraman, Little Rascals, Spidey. I'm not sure if that's Samantha or not. Bugs, Yogi. I don't remember too many Hanna-Barbera cartoons, but they might have been mixed in. There's Gilligan, Gomer, Hogan's Heroes, yep. The Banana Splits, the Stooges, we'll get to them. Bozo, who was also played originally by the same man that played Captain 20 and Count Gore Duvall. So this was Every Other Day is Halloween, which there he is in all his glory. He likes Star Trek, so let's see. The big 74, when was it? 72, he was hired to replace. So it started in the fall of 72. Yeah, I guess. I don't remember. I wasn't there that often. But he was on for a while. I remember watching the show, but not being that interested. It was just something that was on that you had to wade through with kids and crap to get to the exciting stuff. But now this documentary is called Every Other Day is Halloween. Yeah, and he doesn't get to, but he's Count Gore Duvall, and it's really nice. I don't remember where I saw it. On Amazon, probably. Let's just say Amazon. So follow, and he would show, I think, some short cartoons. There's a bigger shot of the actual cartoon club. I wish that I'd have gotten a membership. I could have had it sent to my grandmother. She'd have sent it to me. Kids don't think of things on occasion, and all I had to do was ask. But at least you can have this right there, and they've saved them. Oh, look, there's a Clampett, and I don't know who that is. But it changed because everything changed once in a while. But for the most part, this was the lineup. They don't have the Superman, the DC superheroes on here, but that's all right. But I think he might show stuff like Batfink. I'm quite sure I saw Courageous Cat and Minute Mouse. And then Superboy was also part of the Superman Aquaman Hour. And I saw lots of them, which explains my love of Crypto and Superboy. All right, so let me get back over here. Oh, and then finally, and then toward the end, that would be at like 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock. We'd have the next one, which is. So I'm kind of cheating here. I know he was on in the afternoons because they have TV guides of it, but I also know he was on in the morning. And this episode here I saw twice in a row. 2 days in a row they showed the same episode, and I wasn't quite sure what just happened there. But it's my favorite episode, and it's called Monsters of the Deep. You'll see why. There's Marine Boy and Neptina, both voiced by Corinne Orr, so she's talking to herself. There's the monster from the deep. I mean, they look great. Super cool submarine, too. I love this cartoon. And speaking of Corinne and the late Peter Fernandez, this was at G-Fest 2000, and I co-hosted a panel with Damon Foster and these two, and they were wonderful. Peter was great. I don't know Corinne, didn't get to know Corinne very well, but I talked to Peter on the phone a couple times while interviewing for, I did not include my Marine Boy book cover. Well, dang. Oh, well. It's available on Amazon. And then Marine Boy will be followed by Speed, voiced by the same characters here. Right? There he goes. And this is from The Desperate Racer, which is an episode I do remember seeing on WDCA. And I think the whole family watched it. And it's a great episode. It's toward the end of the run. And there's the family. But Speed Racer is a lot of fun. I don't normally do car stuff, but he's kind of an adventurer. So you can get the whole series on Blu-ray. I think 5 discs, and it's well worth it. You can see that even with the dubbing, the series progresses from Speed being a humble and learning racer to the world champion at the end. Then it just starts all over in syndication. But it was on in the afternoon generally, and I remember wanting to memorize this theme song so bad.
Here comes Speed Racer. He's a demon on wheels. He's a demon, and he's gonna be chasing after someone.
So, and the fun thing about, I know I've talked about Speed and Kimba before, and Kimba is probably is our most popular episode that I've done a year ago. But that'll probably be the next animated series I do after the one that's in the tank. And finally, you got to see Ultraman. And I only saw Ultraman 3 times back there. But this is my favorite episode. It's the Monster Graveyard. You're not going to get an Ultraman theme song because we're using Ultra Q. This would be that Seaboz, who was brought back from the Monster Graveyard to Earth, and all he wants to look at this shot. Akio Jisoji directed it. Wait till we get to this episode. And it's completely atmospheric and very unique. It's episode 35. There he is, just wanting to go back to space. There's no fight scene, really. Just a bunch of stills that they show instead of the fight. Ultraman doesn't use his spacium beam or any of his weapons, but he does get Seaboz back to the Ultra Zone, which is the Graveyard of Monsters, which is the name of the show. And then guess who's next? That's an Al Hurt variation. It's off the Batmania songs inspired by the Batman TV series. The DVDs and Blu-rays are so good that you can see Adam West's 5 o'clock shadow or just his beard coming through. Julie Newmar, of course, looks stunning and perfect. Not that Adam, pure 100% grade A West, doesn't look great too, but who wouldn't want to share a ice cream soda with Catwoman? Because it has to be ice cream, of course. And then we would see Gilligan's Island was usually on afterward. I just remember the promo that they would show constantly of him having to dress up as a woman. And you can't make me, you can't make me. Saw it a lot. Saturday mornings had a kids TV theater, Shirley Temple Masterpiece Theater or something, where they showed a lot of hers, and they would preview them all week, so you would know half the songs. I've never seen a Shirley Temple movie, and at this age, I don't know if that'll ever change. But Gilligan's Island was on, so we saw a lot of that. And then I think it was followed by Star Trek, because we're getting into 5 o'clock. A lot of times, dinner time, parents would come in and want to watch the news because there was only one television. But I know Star Trek was on. I think this is just a promo art piece because that looks painted to me. But it was great. I mean, you had a whole afternoon of that. It's a wonder we ever got outside to play at all. And finally, in the evenings and on the weekends and weekend evenings, you would get movies. I saw this with my cousin Todd and my brother, both late into the night, playing Crazy Eights, and your humble agent was not a good card player and was losing and losing and losing until finally we got a happy dance out of him when I won. So I love this movie. It's just lots of fun. It taught me about breaking the fourth wall. This was shown in the 80s, the early 80s, probably unedited with the famous introductory part to it. I may include that at the end of this just because it's that much fun and it's just bizarre. And then they had Kung Fu Theater on Saturdays after the Monster movie. They would show WWF wrestling. Hulk Hogan had just become the champion in 1984. It was all right, but we also got TBS and World Class Championship Wrestling with the Road Warriors, the Legion of Doom, the Sawyers, just Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream, baby. But they would show this. This is where I saw 5 Deadly Venoms with my cousin Tuckasaurus, who also helped me with wrestling. And we'll talk about wrestling at some point. And finally, my cousin Todd once again introduced me to the Three Stooges with this particular episode of the Three Stooges, Disorder in the Court. It remains my favorite episode. I just can't help but watch it every time it's on. And I didn't even think to put the Curly Shuffle on here. How lame is that? And that's it. So Channel 20 was the greatest channel. Things changed, the world turns and times change, and they became a UPN or a WB. I don't even know what they are now. And, what's the point? The last time I was in West Virginia, I did bring a cassette of Marine Boy to watch as I was writing my episode synopsis. And that was kind of fun to pretend I was watching Channel 20, but at, 10 o'clock in the morning instead of in the afternoon, or instead of at 6 in the morning. All right, my fellow agents, that is it for today. Just an appreciation of Channel 20 back from, 70, 73. I don't know. They never did show any, interestingly enough, they didn't show Hanna-Barbera cartoons at all until the Fantastic World of Hanna-Barbera. Not the Fantastic World. Well, the one with the superheroes. And we saw it once. And that would have been 79, maybe 80. It was a Fantastic Four episode, so I was stoked with Blastar, the Living Bomb Burst. But they promoted it when we were back there for Christmas. And unfortunately, I was all excited, and then we left the day it started, so I never got to see any of it because it had all the Hanna-Barbera heroes. And I was excited and denied. All right. Enough of my meandering there. We will let the bubble version of Marine Boy play us out instead of the Surf Coasters, since they're both water bands. And until our next assignment, agents, cherish the memories you have of those wonderful stations and getting to see them, things you never did when you lived in Fossil Bed, Colorado. So until our next assignment, this is X7 signing off.
Ancient land of China, schools and the martial arts were a way of life, but none were as lethal as the one we are about to reveal. 5 Deadly Venoms. A secret society, each man unknown to the other, identified only by a mask representing one of nature's deadly assassins, the centipede, the snake, the scorpion, the lizard, and the toad. 5 Deadly Venoms, 5 masters in the martial arts, each man pitted against the other in savage combat, and each trained in their own vicious method of killing. They practiced a special kind of kung fu, killing by instinct, with machine-like precision, lightning speed, and ruthless power, as ferocious and deadly as the venomous creatures from which it took its name, and whose stings were always fatal. Kill or be killed. 5 Deadly Venoms. No mercy asked, none given, in a kung fu epic as brutal as nature itself. 5 Deadly Venoms, survival of the fittest and kung fu action at its very best in the most spectacular martial arts program of the year. 5 Deadly Venoms, 5 stinging ways to die. Pick your poison. You'll be stung to your seats. Don't miss 5 Deadly Venoms, a Shaw Brothers